you mentioned your mom being ringside for the arm situation. What's your mom like? What's like your family like? I want to get into the deep throes of the family.
Oh,
Tell me
oh
about
man.
mama.
So my mom's the sweetest, like especially now, like in her older years. Like she's always been pretty laid back for us. But like my family life, I don't it's so all over the place. I don't know if I could even paint the picture of it. So my dad had me when he was 45. So he was already very like up there at that point.
Hmm.
My mom was 33. My dad had 13 children.
Whoa.
Four of them were adopted.
Spread that seed.
So four of them were adopted.
Okay.
The rest of us, like I had two that were like same mom, same dad. The rest were half. But there were 13 of us, and I was the youngest of all of them. Of course, I got
Wow.
beat up the most. I got all the hand me downs. Someone sent me a picture the other day of me wearing the biggest sweater I've ever seen in my life. Like it engulfed me because I'm also way shorter than my brothers for whatever reason. Like my two full brothers, they're like 6'1" and 6'2", and then I'm hanging out down here. So they don't even use their height, whatever. But
No
for the
resentment.
yeah, for the most part, like by the time I was 13, they had all moved out. Like either my parents split up pretty young for me. So like my middle brother Ray went to live with my dad. Michael was at that point old enough to go live on his own. So it was just kind of me. I won't
So it's
get
you it was you and your mom. Your one brother went to your dad's and your other brother had already moved out.
yes.
Oh, wow. That must have been
So
hard separating from your siblings.
yeah, but I was always kind of different from my family. Like
Mm.
I was the youngest. So I don't know if it's just because I kind of got to watch everybody else make their mistakes that I was like, all right, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Shouldn't do that. But like I was just always a little bit like they would tell me I was adopted, and I'd be like, I hope so, like kind of joking around with it,
Yeah, yeah.
like the Larry David thing where he gets super excited thinking he's adopted.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
kid, I thought that maybe there was a chance, but um, yeah. So I won't go too deep into it because it could take days, but like we didn't have any money, and my dad was an alcoholic for like the early years of my life. He got clean for the most part, like
Mhm.
later. But like
Yeah.
him and my mom split up, and she got with he's not my stepdad anymore, thank God. But he was just a gigantic alcoholic piece of shit. You
Oh,
know, like
God.
scum of the earth type shit.
Yeah. It's really it can be rough. I mean, I don't have 13 siblings or anything, but it was me and my brother, but I have like so many. This used to be my stepbrother and stepsister, and they used to be my stepbrother and stepsister because my mom had remarried after my dad, and then also had a relationship after that with somebody. They were together for a long time. They weren't married, but my dad had remarried as well. She had three kids. So like I get it. It's like people are kind of all over the place, and those other well I mean at least in my situation those other marriages were definitely not great, and
Yeah,
that shit is like it's weird, man. It's really weird when you're a kid trying to like figure out who these people are.
yeah. So like, because my parents weren't perfect by any means, but like
Hmm.
I enjoyed my childhood for the most part. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't change any of it. Like we were poor. Like I don't remember a lot of it because we were young, but by the time I was 5, we had moved like 9 times because we just couldn't afford places, and we just kept bouncing around. And like there was the point like where my dad had custody of us, and we lived with my dad from like a year or two, but he didn't have a real house. It's like we didn't know like, but he had like this garage that he was a mechanic at the time, so he had a garage, and we would just sleep at the garage, and like we would
Wow.
just sleep in cars that he had like he was working on, and
Yeah.
like we'd fight over who could sleep on the roller thing that rolled under the car. It's like
The
dibs,
dolly.
yeah, but like we were basically like wildlife,
Yeah.
but it was great. Like we didn't really have we could go. I remember being like 6 years old out on my own riding around the town on my bike, and nobody like no neither of my parents knew, and no like I would go back home and nobody even noticed, so that kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
not like they were absentee, but like they were just they trusted us for the most part.
Yeah. It was
But
a
yeah,
different time too. It definitely was a
it
different
was.
time where like you could get away with stuff like that a little more. I feel like this day and age, there's no way that would fly. But depending on like what the town is that you're growing up in, what that situation is,
Yeah,
like
and like
it
our
was a
population,
different time then.
the population of my town was less than 800. It's like it
Yeah.
was a small town, small town. Like everybody knew everybody. It was a very poor town. So like we would just go out and we would find what we'd, my brothers would put me down in the wishing well so I could take all the people's money
Oh my
and
god.
we could go.
That's like the Goonies.
Yeah, they would lower me down in there. Like it's still there in the middle of the town. Like, but they would lower me down in there and I would pocket some change, lift me back out while they kept watch. And we'd walk over to, we had our food stamps too. Like, so we'd take our little food stamps over and buy candy.
Oh my
Like,
gosh. How did moving affect you? We have moved a lot as kids too. We just moved a ton. And but I think your perspective on it, like at least mine as a kid, was it always kind of felt like an adventure. Like
I was gonna say, it was kind of
felt-
fun. It was
like
cool.
yeah, that's what I thought too. It wasn't this feeling like I feel like it's almost similar. We had kind of similar experiences that like as much as there can be like weird things going on, my parents did a really good job of it not feeling like anything weird was ever happening. And it was all still like, okay. My mom was a great mom. She did such a good, and I mean, same for my dad too, but I spent more time with my mom at the time. We moved a ton, but I always really enjoyed it. And even now as an adult, the idea of like moving, I'm like, okay, I'll move wherever and do whatever. And it's fine. Like you just figure it out. Makes you adaptable.
It didn't really bother me that much. Like the only thing that I hated, like, and it didn't bother me by that point because I only went to one elementary school, regardless of how many times we moved, like was losing friends. Like you make some friends and you get along with them, but I feel like you can be friends with anybody at 5 years old and like you just walk up to them, hey, we're friends now, right? Yep.
True.
That's it. So
true. Like, I remember one year we didn't go to the same elementary school because we always went to our school, but I actually never during the time I was in elementary school, which we didn't have middle school. I went all the way to 8th grade in this one elementary school. We never lived in the area that was supposed to be for that school. So my mom would drive us. We would take the bus, like the public transport bus.
Yeah.
But if there was one year that we didn't, and it was so weird. It wasn't weird, but it was like, it was for the 2nd grade for me. So it was like, it was meeting new people. It was like reintroducing yourself to people in like a different county. But then the following year, my mom went to take us to school, back to that school. And we're in the car and she turns around. She's like, do you guys want to go back to Lakeside, which was our original school? We're like, yes, oh my God. So she just like dropped us back off at that school. But I always used to have to lie and say that I lived at my best friend's house.
Yeah. Yes. That was similar for us. Mm-hmm. Like by the time I got old enough to go to elementary school, for me, like my brothers dealt with it more. Like we still moved a couple of times, but we were still in the same town. We would just go from different landlord to different landlord until eventually I said my mom left my dad, who was like an irresponsible alcoholic, for my stepdad, who became an abusive alcoholic. Yeah. And so, but I think she felt trapped because he gave her more financial freedom and stuff like that. And she had worked very hard her whole life to take care of us and like to provide for us, because for the most part, she raised the 3 of us, like me, Michael, and Ray. And she helped raise my stepbrothers, or half also, even though they weren't her kids. So like, I think by the time I was, 12 or 13 at that point or whatever, by that point, I was the last one left in the house. And she met a guy who at the time was a nice guy, and he had all this land, and like she didn't have to, like they lived together, so she didn't have to pay rent. Mm-hmm. So like it worked out well for her at first, and then like I said, he became an abusive alcoholic to the point where I couldn't live at home anymore. Like I put a stop to it, but I couldn't live at home anymore. It's like I moved out at 15.
Oh wow, what did you do? Where'd you go?
Just bounced around. Like my friend Jordan and his mom, for the most part, like took me in and like gave me a place to stay. But like they weren't, the richest either. So like they were living in a hotel at the time. It was a one room hotel. So like she had the bedroom, Jordan had the couch, and I would like alternate between like the floor. Sometimes I'd sleep in the tub. Like
oh my gosh. So. Childhoods are crazy, man. Like, but it's so like everyone goes through so much shit that you would have no idea. But like here you are, this like functioning adult man that's like, you're fine.
But I got to hang out with my best friend. I lived with my best friend. We watched wrestling all the time. Like I didn't have to put up like with my stepdad's bullshit anymore. Like eventually, like so I'm kind of a functioning adult now. But at the time I was kind of like an angry kid.
Yeah.
So I dropped out of school probably 11th. It was 11th grade. Like could have graduated if I had just stuck with it because I did well in school, but I got in too much trouble. And there was like one really bad instance where there was, my mom was like, I'm not letting you go back to school. She's like, I literally won't sign for you to go back because I'm
What
not
happened? Do you want to talk about it or no?
I mean, I won't go into great detail, but there was just a kid that was kind of bullying me. Like, and he apologized years later. Like, and I could have handled the situation way better too. But like, he said something that made fun of me, and then like, he made a comment about my girlfriend at the time, and I told him, I was like, hey, I'm warning you now. He said one more thing, I'm going to knock you out. And he said one more thing, and I took my backpack straps off, and I stood up, and the teacher kind of got in between us, and I just kind of stiff armed her out of the way, and yeah, cold cocked him, and pretty bad. Like, yeah, he broke his orbital and stuff, and
Oh shit.
they were going to press charges, but he was going to press charges, or his parents were, the school was, and the teacher was, but the teacher kind of instigated it, and the kid that I punched, more power to him. He said that we provoked him,
Mhm.
like the Miss. I shouldn't say her name.
You can take it out.
Yeah. He said, yeah, the teacher was kind of egging it on. I said some stuff. He told me, and I don't want to press charges. So when he didn't press charges and he told the principal what happened, the principal was like, okay, well, if the teacher, like, she got reprimanded,
Wow.
but it was a pretty big ordeal. And for a little while there, it looked like I was going to get triple sued, you know?
Oh shit.
So it was going to be the kid, the school, and the teacher separately.
Yeah.
So my mom was like, yeah, it's not happening, not going back. And so I ended up getting a job like at 17 and just kind of rented a room from some friends. And that was it. Like, you know, I got my GED. I did my 2 years at a community college, and I started working on my bachelor's, which I just kind of work on sporadically now because I'm not in a big hurry to get it done. I'll get it done whenever. But yeah.
How much was wrestling like a thing that you really relied on during all of that stuff to just sort of distract?
Without being cheesy, it was everything.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Yeah, I mean, watching, looking at guys like, I mean, I know you're obviously a big Bret Hart fan, but like, what was the stuff that, sorry, I'm not trying to make you emotional. We actually joked about this before you came on. You're like, don't make me cry. It was not my intention. I feel like I'm getting emotional now. Ooh, it's, when you're a kid and you're going through that stuff and you have those distractions, you have the things to like, to keep you in line and like give you hope and like things to look forward to. It's when you think of wrestling and you doing the profession now, it's really crazy to think of the effects that you have on people that are watching. Look at us all
Yeah.
emotional. What? Yeah, we can take a break. Give it a little breather.